So in this part of the presentation, I will tell you a little bit more about the monitoring network and also point you in the direction of various resources which will help you complete your surveys. The monitoring network requires selection of sites which fulfil a range of statistical requirements. They must be representative of the area and not biased towards places most likely to contain clean water. So, our volunteer monitoring network is created from a list of randomly selected 1 kilometre grid squares containing water bodies such as ponds, rivers, streams and ditches. For our 2021 volunteer network, we have approximately 350 1 kilometre grid squares containing around 620 different water bodies. That's a lot of sampling required. So a little bit about square allocation. We will issue volunteers with enough clean water kits to sample 10 water bodies, and these may be spread over several 1 kilometre grid squares and generally in the same area. We will also send out a spreadsheet listing all the volunteer grid squares in their batches, which lists the water body types we'd like volunteers to sample. The majority of the water bodies on these squares will be on publicly accessible land, or you will be able to access from a public footpath. However, a few may be on private land, such as in the grounds of a country hotel or a private nature reserve. For these, please seek landowner permission before carrying out the survey. We do have a pre-prepared letter to help you with this. So, what water bodies should we be sampling? Well, this is a typical 1 kilometre grid square that we'll be issuing, and we'd ask you to sample just one of each of the water body types in each square. So on here we have a pond, we have a lake, and we have a ditch, and we also have a river. So for this square, 4 kits will be used. A couple of other examples. As I said previously, we will issue volunteers with their survey squares along with a spreadsheet listing the water bodies we'd like you to sample. So for the first example, although there are lots of ponds on this square, you only actually need to sample one of them. And also there is a ditch on this particular square. On the second example, there is just a stream, as we can see here, and this should be accessible from a bridge. So for this example, just one kit will be used. So I'm now going to tell you a little bit about the different water body types. So starting with standing water. So ponds. A pond can be defined as a water body, normally freshwater but occasionally brackish, which can vary in size between 1 square metre and 2 hectares, and which holds water for 4 months of the year or more. And standing water lakes. Lakes are large standing waters, bigger than 2 hectares in area. We think of them as natural, but there are now a lot of man-made lakes as well, the result of gravel extraction and other mineral mining and the damming up of rivers for water supply. Moving on to running waters. So rivers are large running waters created mainly by natural processes, but often greatly altered by centuries of human activity. Whereas streams are small running waters mainly formed by natural processes, although they are often substantially modified by human activity. Ditches are man-made water bodies that are used mainly to drain the land. They are distinguished from streams in that they are usually straight and follow linear field boundaries and show little relationship with the natural landscape contours. Other water bodies you may come across: springs. Springs are places where underground water emerges at the surface, the start of many streams and other ponds. They may turn into tiny seepages and become flushes, or they may be the beginning of a substantial watercourse. Other water bodies include fens. A fen is a marsh rich in specialised plants and other organisms, which is fed by alkaline water from the underlying chalk. Fen habitats are found in many parts of Norfolk, including the Brecks. If you have a fen habitat on your survey square, then search for a wet area to sample. So before you go out, I would advise you to familiarise yourself with your survey squares. You can use a traditional OS paper map, or you could use one of the online resources. I would highly recommend a subscription to the OS map online. It's just under £24 for a year's subscription, but very well worth it. So here you can search for your grid square in detail, and also you can download an app onto your phone or tablet. This is incredibly useful, as when you're actually out in the field it will show you where you are, and there is an option to click on the app to actually generate the grid reference. So if you're stood next to a pond or you're by the stream, you can just sort of click on that and instantly get the grid reference. So as I said, very well worth it. Other useful online resources which are free are Grid Reference Finder. Now this is very, very useful to find a grid reference on your map, and I'll talk about this in the next few slides. It will also generate OS maps for your square, and it's really good for aerial views. You've also got Bing Maps, which is a good source of free online OS mapping and aerial views, and Google Maps, again really good for aerial views. And also this has Street View as well, so if you're going to an area where you want to see there's a stream under a bridge, for example, you can have a look before you actually sort of go. So again, very useful. So just a little bit about the Grid Reference Finder. Like I say, this is the most useful free tool. So if you go onto the Grid Reference Finder, you literally just pop in your grid reference and it will give you a point on the map. This will bring up a box which is very useful. It's got all the information on the grid reference example, but also the nearest postcode if there is one. And if you look at the bottom here, you could click on Ordnance Survey, and that will take you to a more detailed map of your square. So here you can see on this particular one, you can see all the water bodies on there that we'd like you to survey. So again, a really useful tool. The other thing you can do with Grid Reference Finder, there is a coordinate batch conversion tool, which if you go onto the home page for the Grid Reference Finder and scroll down, there is a link to the bottom, but here is another link. So basically with this, if you've got your group of say 6 or etc. Grid squares, you can pop these into the batch conversion tool and add them all at once, so you don't have to do them individually. So you can see here it's fairly easy. You just literally paste your data into step 1, and then in step 2 you want to click grid reference find grid reference, and then going down to step 5 you literally just press the convert button and your data will show up in step 6. And then right down at the bottom you just click on show points on main map, and all those grid references will then be on your main map, and then you can click on the individual ones to see the square. So again, incredibly useful. Other useful stuff to take out. I would highly recommend you take out a long stick, as this is invaluable to help you collect your water sample safely. Just attach a small container to the end of your stick with either gaffer tape or cable ties. Empty spice jars are a good size, or anything else you have to hand. And don't forget to take out your survey forms and your clean water kits. Each pack contains 5 tubes, enough to test 5 water bodies. So now I'm just going to point you in the direction of some of the project resources that are available to help you carry out your survey. The first port of call is our website. You can just do a Google search for Freshwater Habitats Trust or pop in the link here. This will take you to our website. And as you can see on the front page, we have a link to our project, Citizen Science Testing the Water. So just click on the button that will take you directly to the page. So our page basically has a little bit of information about the project, and it has various resources that you can click on. So here we have a sort of like a gallery, so you just click on the icon and it will take you to the relevant resource. The first one is our how-to video nutrient testing kits. This was created for our Clean Water for Wildlife project, and basically goes through all the process of going to the site and doing the clean water testing kits. The second is the Testing the Water leaflet. When I send you out your clean water kits, I will send everybody one of these leaflets, which has got lots of useful information on to hand, such as understanding your clean water results and other sort of bits of information. There's also the how to do the survey and the survey form. The next one is the Testing the Water survey form. Again, I will be sending out these survey forms with the kits. It's very important that you do take out the actual printed copy with you, because the colours on the recording chart can vary if printed off from your home printer. And here I've just indicated the information that we will need for you to do the survey. So basically fairly straightforward: your name and any other person that's with you, the recording group, which should be the BFER Testing the Water, your email address, the grid reference, date, what type of water body, a name of the water body if there is one, and obviously your results. Also in this section there is the health and safety information. I would strongly advise you to read through this information before you head out for your surveys. It tells you a bit more about your responsibilities, the risk assessment, access, lone working, etc. And also biosecurity information. So again, please read this before you head out. Another really useful resource is how to find a grid reference. As I said previously, it's really important that we have a fairly accurate grid reference for each water body that you survey. So if you just have a look at this, it will give you all the information you need to either generate a grid reference by using a handheld GPS or a mobile phone app, or just marking on a paper map and checking out the grid reference, or finding the grid reference on Grid Reference Finder back at home. We also have a useful car windscreen sign which you can take out with you. So when you're parked up and you're out and about doing your survey, you can leave this in your windscreen. So if you're, for example, you're on a wildlife trust reserve, people will know that you are out doing a proper survey, an official survey. Other information we have on our website, we have links to the Brecks, Fen Edge and Rivers Landscape Partnership website, which tells you more about the other projects within the scheme. Also, you can click on to find out any other training opportunities. Below we have various documents. So we have the Landscape Conservation Action Plan, which is a bit of bedtime reading, the scheme area map, and our important freshwater areas report. But the most important item on this list is the clean water test results. So this is where you go to enter your clean water test results once you get back home. So clicking on this will take you to our clean water data portal. So basically you enter all the information from your survey form onto the online data portal. So your name, your email address, date, grid reference, etc. Again, one of the most important things is to make sure that you add the group name as a BFER Testing the Water, so that when we come to download all the results, we know we've got the correct data for the project. Obviously, as well as that information, we need the water body type, the water body name if there is one, and obviously your results. There is a box at the bottom, so if anything else you want to tell us, you can do. But please bear in mind that you will need to fill in a new form for every water body you sample. So just a quick recap. Before you head out, get yourself familiar with your survey square. Read all the health and safety and biosecurity documents. And don't forget to take your clean water kits, survey forms, printed off survey square, pen and notebook, OS map, a fully charged mobile phone, hopefully with a GPS app, a stopwatch, or you can use your mobile phone, and obviously the stick and sample pots plus gaffer tape, and if you require it, your windscreen, cart windscreen sign. So thank you for listening, and above all, have fun.